You're amazing. Okay, really, and Rabbi Perez really is amazing. I mentioned the other day he spoke in Toronto a couple months ago. There was 1,000 people there, and not a dry eye in the house. Rabbi Perez, of course, I'm sure everybody knows, lost the son the October 7th. He spoke last year at the program, and it was about a week later you got the news, unfortunately. And Rabbi Perez, of course, serves as the executive chairman of the Mizrahi World Movement. As you hear, he's a native of South Africa, where he served for many years, I think 14 years as the rabbi in Johannesburg. And I had the pleasure of speaking in his shul on my one trip to South Africa. And he's really doing wonderful work for Mizrahi and the Jewish world. And it's an honor and pleasure to have him to finish our program. I can say all our speakers were wonderful, but Achron Chavid and
Mhm, mhm.
Bakashav, Rabbi Perez, we look forward to hearing your inspiring words.
Uh, Thank you very much, Rav Jay, and Yishakov to you and Ilana and everyone at Torah in Motion for all the wonderful work that you do and connecting so many of us from all around the world on such important topics. Thank you. Um, I think, as Rav Jay has said, we it's hard to believe we're a year later. As Rav Jay said, our son was declared deceased as of October 7th, a year ago, Shabbos a year ago. Shabbat was the 8th of Adar, Bet, and that's this year the 8th of Adar, and that's a year since our son was declared dead. And we did a funeral, even though his body is still in Gaza. He is unfortunately still one of the 59 hostages still held in Gaza. He's one of the deceased ones. There is a sense that there are about 24 who's still alive and 35 who unfortunately not. And unfortunately, Daniel is one of those 35. Um, we were lucky in inverted commas that we were able to do a burial because we don't have his body, but we were told after about 5 weeks that a uniform with blood on it was the uniform of our son Daniel. All the blood was his blood. And even though that was very, very difficult for us to hear because we knew that he had been injured on the day and we hoped that he was alive, we once we knew that he had been injured, at the very least injured, it was very, very difficult. But at least I say in retrospect, the fact that we have this uniform with blood in it gave us the ability to actually have a burial in a grave. And we feel lucky that we have that because there are many, many people who don't have that and don't have a place to go, don't have a kever. Kever is called a tziyun. It's a landmark. It's a place that you can go to honor him. And those who don't, I think it's a much harder nisayon, nisayon within a nisayon. So um, we just had the Yaz Kara. We hope and pray that we'll be able to bring him to burial very soon, that all of the Lavdil Ben Chaim L'chaim, all the live hostages will come back very, very soon, where there's obviously Pikuach Nefesh every moment and every day. And one of the live hostages is the tank driver of our tank Matan Angres, which has been in the news a lot. Hamas released a video of his a couple of days ago. So that's the situation that we're dealing with, and we hope and pray that Daniel will come back for burial very soon, so that way we'll have a full funeral and Setshuva again briefly, and at least be able to to only mourn and not have to have this open wound of of the circle not yet being fully closed. So it's been a very, very challenging time. And I just want to reflect on something I said last year, but I want to share my insight into it this year. Having been last year, we had been 5 months into it. We're now 17 months into it. And just to share for me an insight of where I'm at the moment. For me, there's a comment, an insight of the Kotzker Rebbe, which I'm sure many of you, if not all of you, have heard of. It's a comment that I used to think I understood. I would even give talks about it. But I have to be honest, since October 7th, Simchat Torah, I no longer understand it. The Kotzker Rebbe said, Ein yoter shalem milev shavur. There's nothing more complete than a broken heart. Now, before October 7th, I used to say, yeah, from the brokenness, so much positive can come out of it. They give the example of this sort of Japanese art where if a jug or a vase breaks, then it gets put back together with a type of golden glue with gold, and it gets put back together, and it actually looks even more beautiful than before, and it's more valuable with all the gold where it was broken. And that's an example of that. Even in something broken, when it gets put back together, can be even stronger. It's known that if a bone in the body breaks and it grows back together, it grows back even stronger. And this Japanese art highlights that even in its brokenness, when it gets put back together with a sort of new substance and gold, it's actually a more beautiful art and more valuable. I used to talk about that. I must be honest, I no longer understand what the Kotzker Rebbe meant. When the Kotzker Rebbe said there's nothing more complete than a broken heart, I don't understand what it means. For me, I feel that there's nothing more broken than a broken heart. There's nothing more broken than a broken heart. There's nothing complete about it. And therefore, we're sitting with a lot of pain and a lot of brokenness. But what I do resonate with is that's not the only heart that I have. That's not all there is. There's so many other wonderful things we have in our life, which are not broken. We have our oldest son, Jonathan, who was saved on the day, God forbid, a million times over there. Their families which lost 2 children on that day. There's family like the Bibas family, which lost 3 generations of people on that day. And people have lost so much. We, on the one hand, are totally broken that we lost our son and he's still a hostage and he's deceased. On the other hand, our other son fought and was only moderately wounded, managed to get married. Those of you know the story. And we have so much blessing in our life. There's so much in our life which is complete. There's so much good. The good and completeness doesn't cancel out the brokenness and the imperfection, but the brokenness and imperfection doesn't cancel out the completeness. So I feel for me, where I'm holding right now is not that there's nothing more complete than a broken heart. There's nothing more broken than a broken heart, but the broken heart's not the only heart that I have. There's a lady, her name is Lucy Hone. I think that's her name. She's a psychologist. She lost a child many years ago, a 12-year-old child who was killed in a car accident. And she had an epiphany moment where she was grieving and mourning for her daughter and not able to sort of move on. And then she says, there's a famous TED talk about it as well, about resilience. She says that all of a sudden it dawned on me that it is true that I've lost my one child, but I must be careful that I don't lose my other children as well. Yes, we've lost something irretrievably, but we've got a lot of other things in our life, and we can't lose that as well. There's so much in our life which is broken, but there's so much in our life which is complete. There's so much in our life which is missing, but there's so much in our life which is present. And I realize that we don't only have one heart. We've got 2 hearts. And then it made me understand we've got a broken heart and a complete heart, but it made me reinterpret something that I've been saying in davening that all of us are familiar with, just to re-understand it. We say in davening, in the Shema, V'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha, b'chol levavecha, v'chol nafshecha, v'chol medecha. We have to love Hashem with all of our heart, with all of our soul, with all of our might. Now, what does it mean to love Hashem with all of our heart? Firstly, the word for heart in the Torah is levav, not lev. We don't really use in spoken Hebrew the word levav. You don't say the person's got a levav tov. You say the person's got a lev tov. So what's this thing of levav? So the Chazal say lev bet. We've all got 2 hearts. Lev bet. What does it mean levav? Levav means we've all got 2 hearts. And what do Chazal say in Masechet Brachot Daf Nun Daled in the Mishnah? They say, what are our 2 hearts? Yetzer hara v'yetzer tov. We have to serve Hashem with all parts of our personality. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, these seem to be the most opposite things possible. How do you got to serve God with the source of good and the source of bad in your personality. Here we just read Amalek, Parshat Zachor. Amalek, I would say, is the collective Yetzer Hara in the world, and we've seen with Hamas this terror which just indiscriminately wants to do the most horrific evil possible. We've got to serve God with all the evil, the bad in our life, and all the good. It's hard to bring without going to what that means, because that's not the purpose of the shir. But it's just of my talk. But it's just to highlight that there's how do we bring these opposites together? And I've realized that that's perhaps what life is about. It's about bringing these opposite, contradictory parts of human experience together. And for me, that's the Leiv Shabur and the Leiv Shalem. They're certainly not more different than the Yetzer Hara and the Yetzer Tov. And if we're commanded to serve God with both of these, then maybe we can serve God with the part of our human experiences which is in so much pain, so much yearning, so much loss, so much brokenness, so much absent, along with the parts of our personality where there's so much present, so much complete, so much that we have. And that's the challenge, is to hold both of these things together. And it made me realize that maybe that's what Chazal mean. A number of times in davening, we say the word belevav shalem. We have to serve God with a complete heart. And maybe that's what the complete heart is. The complete heart is the brokenness and the completeness. And that's why it says in davening, in the Birkot Kriyat Shema, the blessings before the Shema, we say like this: V'ha'er einenu b'toratecha, God, enlighten our eyes through Torah. V'dabek libeinu b'mitzvotecha, and let our heart, that's libeinu, not levaveinu, libeinu, should cleave to you. And then we say, v'yached levaveinu, we should unite our hearts and designate and unite our hearts. But how does that work? How do we unite? How did we go from cleave with the heart, leiv, to unite levav? Because a continuation of the blessing says, V'yached levaveinu le'ahava u'liyira oto, to etshmecha, that unite our hearts to love and fear you. Now, love and fear couldn't be more different. Love is about closeness and intimacy, no daylight between us. And fear is about distance and awe. And yet here we're told to unite our hearts because, welcome to life. Life has all these dichotomies. It's got good and bad. It's got brokenness and completeness. It's also got the fear and love, which are very different emotions. And that's what it says, by the way, in the Uva Letzion bracha. It says, V'hu yiftach libeinu b'torato, v'yasem b'libeinu ahavato v'yirato, la'asot retzoncha b'levav shalem. So we say the same thing over there when we say to God that we have to serve you with open our hearts to both fear and love of you so that we can serve you with a complete heart. Because a complete heart is the ability to bring all these dichotomies together. There's one other time that it says, I'm just going to get the Sidur. There's another time in the daily davening that all of us use the word belevav shalem. And when do we say the word belevav shalem in the daily davening? In the daily davening, in the Amidah, in the Modim D'Rabbanan, when we thank God in the Rabbi's Modim, we say Modim anachnu lach, that you are our God and the God of our fathers. And listen to what it says at the end. It says, God, thank you for all the things you've done in the repetition of the silent prayer. And then it says, Modim anachnu lach, for all types of things. And then it says, Lishmor chukecha, to fulfill your commandments, your laws, la'asot retzonecha, to do your will, u'le'ovdecha belevav shalem, and to serve you with a perfect heart, a complete heart. And then it says, Al she'anachnu modim lach. What does it mean that to serve you with a complete heart? Al she'anachnu modim lach. That we can thank you. Baruch atah Hashem, Baruch atah Kel, blessed are you, the God of thanksgiving. What is this thing that to serve you with a complete heart? Al, in that we can thank you. So I heard this amazing thing many years ago from the Rosh Yeshiva of the Yeshiva High School of Makor Chaim, where our son Yonatan learned of Rav Dov Zinger, who's a very, very well-known rabbi. Listen to this, what he says. And how's it connected to Belevav Shalem? What are we thanking God for? What does it mean? Al Shanachnu Modim Lach. So he said, we're thanking God for the ability to thank God. Many people can't thank God because they can't thank God because they've got so much Taurus in their life. And there's so much Taurus in their life that their heart, they're so pained and broken that they can't thank God for anything because they feel that their life is overwhelmed by Taurus. So, what does it mean to serve God with a complete heart? It's the ability that even though you're broken, even though there's so much challenge, you say, "Modim anachnu lach, al shenachnu modim lach." We thank you that we can serve you with a complete heart. In that, we can thank you, even though there's so much we're not thankful for. So, I think whenever you see the word belevav shalom in the davening, I've come to see it's got to do about serving God despite the contradictions and despite the pain and despite the challenges and despite the dichotomies. That's ulovdecha belevav shalom. That's what it means, levav. We've all got two hearts. And I think that's our big challenge as what resilience is all about. We can't get away from brokenness. All of us have brokenness in our lives. And the truth is, I don't want to get over my son's loss. I don't want to be okay about the fact, what does that say about me if I'm okay that our son's no longer part of our life? I don't think I'm ever going to be okay. But what I've realized is it's okay not to be okay because that's not the only thing that's not okay in my life. There's so much else which is. There's so much other blessing. We don't need to lose our other children because we've lost one. We don't need to lose all the other blessings because we need to respect and validate the brokenness. So for me, it's not that there's nothing more complete than a broken heart. There's nothing more broken than a broken heart. But the brokenness isn't the only expression of human experience that there's. Yeah, we can make it that, and we can color everything through our brokenness, but that wouldn't be fair. That wouldn't be fair to all the other blessings we have in our life. And therefore, I think we have to be able to hold these two hearts together. And just like our hearts have got two sides, even when you do the heart, how do we do a heart? That's how we do a heart. The sign of hearts, it's really two hearts. The heart's got different chambers. That's what they look like. And basically, we really got two hearts, and we've got to put them together. And the one is a broken heart, the one is a complete heart. The one is one of fear, the one is one of love, the one is one of the Yetzer Hara, and the one is one of the Yetzer Tov, and we need to be able to put them together. And I think the ability for resilience is not to gloss over the pain and not to gloss over the brokenness. And I would hope that there's always going to be a part of me which is pained and missing my son. But that can't be the only prism with which is to experience life, because there's so much other blessing, and we can hold it all together. And I think that for me is the blessing of being able to serve Hashem with a perfect heart, to be grateful that we're able to be grateful to God. That for me was a big thing. The turning point for me for me was when I realized that our son Jonathan, even though Daniel was missing after 48 hours, I realized that our son Jonathan, heaven forbid, could have been killed, and he survived, and he had been shot through the thigh. And when I was able to say, Baruch Hashem, thank God that Jonathan is okay, despite the fact that Daniel wasn't, that was the beginning for me of this ability to say, the human heart can hold this and it can hold that. And that experience for me has not lessened. We got in the last 10 days the findings from Nachal Oz, and the amount of ineptitude and let's call it surprise and blindness and lack of preparedness of the army just absolutely boggles the mind. We had our son's Azkara this week, and it was a very, very, very painful week for us. And I don't feel, for me, that the pain is there and it has not dissipated. And yes, it goes in waves, but it's okay. It's really okay. As I say, it's not okay, but it's okay. The brokenness is there, but the brokenness is not all that there is. There's also a Lev Shalom, and there's a Lev so much other blessing. And I think that's what we need to be able to do, is just to hold our hearts together, to serve Hashem with a complete heart, to validate the brokenness, to validate the completeness. That's perhaps why Chazal famously say that the luchot, the shivrei luchot, are held in Aron HaKodesh. What's the purpose of having shivrei luchot? The luchot are broken. The commandments, the tablets, they have no more utility. They're broken. Why do we take them? And according to the sages, they are in Aron HaKodesh as well, because the brokenness is part of our life. And if we want to have the complete luchot, that's fine. We have to have the complete. We also should and must bring the broken luchot with us as well. And I think life is so much about carrying the brokenness and the completeness together. And as I've often said, it's okay, but it's not okay, but that's okay. And we live in Hashem's world, and in Hashem's world, we can contain the absence and the presence and the distance and the closeness and the ava and the yira and the good and the bad and the light and the darkness and the brokenness and completeness. So may we all, as we come to Purim this week, only experience the completeness, La Yudimaita Orava Simcha V'Sason Vikar, where it will only be one of or, not darkness, and Sason and not Avelut, and lots of honor for the Jewish people. And please God, or every single one of our hostages should come back very soon. A miracle should happen, and we should be able to move forward in a in the best possible way.
Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi Perez. Really, thank you for your beautiful and meaningful words. And you should have much joy. That the heart of
Amen.
joy should be the stronger part of the heart. You know, some
Amen.
parts are weak,
Amen.
some hearts are stronger. So, and I want to really thank everybody. Thank, of course, our nine wonderful, speakers, and all of you for coming. And again, the Lax family, and I feel almost like I don't, our program's coming up. It's important. Like I feel like how can I announce it, sort of? But we have, probably 9 shiurim this week coming up, all our regular shiurim. So please take a look at the website. We have a new series starting tomorrow. Yosef Lindell on the Haggadah. We've got all kinds of learning all the time. But this is really a powerful. I know it's been very powerful. I've been sitting here on my chair now for 6 hours, like some of you have been doing, and it's really a lot to think about and a lot to be grateful for, as you say. With all the problems in the world, there's still we have a strong state of Israel. The Jewish people are strong. There's but despite what's happened, and we look forward to stronger days, to improving and to getting better and stronger. And Hashem should hear our prayers, like you say, Le'itimeta or Rabbi Simcha V'Sason Vikar Kain Tehiyah Lanu. Should be for all of us. And let us hear good news. And thank you again. And everybody be well. And thank you very much for joining us for the day.